This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Yesterday on my way home, I stopped at the petrol station, and as probably many of you are too, I was shocked at the prices. Here in Germany, it is now over €2 per litre for both petrol and diesel, which is crazy. And what makes this a lot worse is that only a couple of weeks ago, it was noticeably cheaper. This spike has happened with terrifying speed. And to be honest, Germany is really not alone here. Across all of Europe, there's a very similar story. Just have a look at Denmark, where prices have surged to an average of €2.11 per litre for petrol and €2.27 for diesel. In the Netherlands, prices are sitting very heavy too, at around €2.15 per litre for petrol. And in France, it's at €1.90. So, if you drive a combustion car right now, you're definitely feeling this pain. And this is not just a European glitch either. Fuel prices are climbing vertically all over the world. And the reason is, of course, very simple: the war in Iran. I mean, just have a look at this chart right here, where you can see the global price of crude oil per barrel. Right before Israel and the United States launched their Operation Epic Fury, the joint strikes on Iran that began on February the 28th, oil was trading very calmly at $70 per barrel. And as of today, March the 9th, crude oil prices have exploded. We've already seen it eclipse $110, and in some morning trades, it even flirted with $119 per barrel. That is an absolutely staggering jump in just 10 days. And right now, there's really no signs of it all slowing down. The main reason for this panic and rise of prices comes down to one tiny 50-kilometer wide gateway in the Middle East, the Strait of Hormuz. Sitting right between Iran and Oman, this is arguably the most important oil chokehold on the entire planet. Roughly 33% of all global seaborne oil trade and 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas exports pass through this very narrow stretch of water. Giant producers like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, and Iran all rely on this route to get their black gold to global markets. And if we take Iran as an example here, they are the OPEC's fourth largest producer, pumping about 3.3 million barrels every single day. Most of that flows through one specific spot, Karg Island. This island in the northern Persian Gulf is the central nervous system of Iran's oil economy. In fact, it's so important that about 90% of Iran's crude oil exports pass through Karg Island before tankers even reach the Strait of Hormuz. And right now, shipping through the strait hasn't just slowed down, it's been thrown into an utter chaos. And here's the part that most people miss. The strait doesn't actually need to be physically blocked by warships to stop the flow of oil. It's actually being blocked by lawyers and insurers. You see, every oil tanker is essentially a floating billion-dollar asset. And to move, they legally need insurance. No insurance pretty much means no travel. But since the war began, the risk has become impossible to manage. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard has officially warned the world that they will ablaze any vessel attempting to pass through the strait. And because of that threat, insurance premiums have gone through the roof, and many companies won't even offer insurance anymore at all. They simply walked away. And yeah, as you can imagine, right now there's hundreds of massive tankers just sitting at anchor in the Gulf of Oman and off the coast of the UAE. They are a floating parking lot, full of the millions of barrels of oil that the world desperately needs. So, even if the strait isn't officially closed by a navy, it is effectively closed by markets. And there are other factors at play too. Over the weekend, several major oil refineries, including facilities in Bahrain and near Tehran, were hit by strikes, taking even more supply offline. And we're even seeing countries and big companies starting to hoard their oil reserves, essentially panic buying, to stay ahead of the shortage. That extra demand is just adding more fuel to the fire, pushing global prices even higher. So, as long as this conflict continues, that war premium is going to keep the price at your local petrol station painfully high. But this is about a lot more than just what you pay at the pump. When oil prices spike this violently, it acts like a massive tax on the entire global economy. Think about it this way. Almost everything that you buy, from food to furniture, has to be shipped, manufactured, and transported using oil. And when fuel costs jump, the price of everything goes up. So if this conflict were to drag on a lot longer, we aren't just talking about a couple of bad months at the petrol station. We are talking about the risk of stagflation, a dangerous mix where economic growth grinds to a halt while prices stay sky high. It's basically the perfect recipe for a global recession. So, this leaves us with the million-euro question. What can Europe actually do about it? And the answer really falls into two different buckets. We have short-term emergency fixes and long-term structural changes. And in the immediate future, Europe has basically three main levers. And the first one is securing the highway. French President Emmanuel Macron has already proposed international naval escorts for oil tankers. And the logic here is super simple. If warships are protecting the tankers, the physical risk drops, and so do those insane insurance tickets that we just talked about. Second, breaking into the emergency stash of oil. Most industrial nations, like Germany, France, and the US, keep massive strategic oil reserves for exactly this very reason. And by releasing millions of barrels onto the market at once, governments can artificially increase supply and blunt the price spikes. We've seen this work before in 2011, during the Libyan war, and again in 2022, after the invasion of Ukraine. Third, political band-aids. Governments can step in with temporary tax cuts on fuel, commuter subsidies, or even energy price caps. Obviously, these don't lower the global price of oil, but they can give temporary relief to consumers who are going to get petrol for their car. But let's be very, very honest here. These are just band-aids. They will not heal the wound. As long as Europe's transport and economy are addicted to oil, the continent will always be a hostage to geopolitics, whether the crisis in the Middle East or Eastern Europe. Therefore, in my opinion, there's only really one way out of this situation, and that is that we as Europeans need to stop needing so much oil in the first place. And to be honest, that starts with electrification. Think about it. The more cars, buses, and trucks that run on batteries, the less a crisis in the Strait of Hormuz affects your daily commute. And for sectors that can't easily electrify, like cargo ships and airplanes, Europe needs to invest heavily into hydrogen and synthetic e-fuels. But of course, we do need to realize that electrification also creates a whole bunch of new challenges, because it shifts our dependency away from the oil market and onto the power grid. And right now, as we've seen over the last couple of years, that market has its own ups and downs too. And that's why a local diversified energy system is so important. France, for example, has handled this relatively well by keeping a large fleet of nuclear power plants online. And of course, on the other hand, we have Germany, who kind of went in the opposite direction, shutting down more than 30 reactors and making them far more vulnerable to price shocks. And this is why I believe a European energy union is so important, as the goal here would be to connect Europe's energy markets so tightly that they basically function as one system. And that means massive new power lines between countries, common rules for gas storage, and major programs like Repower EU to flood the grid with, yes, renewable energy. And one of the biggest pieces of this puzzle is the North Sea Green Power Plant. It's a huge offshore network designed to connect wind farms from several countries into one big shared grid. Because really, in the end, the logic is pretty simple. Energy produced here in Europe doesn't have to pass through a 50-kilometer wide choke point like the Strait of Hormuz. It's homegrown and therefore super secure. And it's one of the very few ways Europe can truly take its energy future out of the hands of these global conflicts. And of course, another thing I really want to mention here is a unified foreign policy for Europe. As we've noticed again with Iran, we have 27 opinions across the continent, and we do not have one approach to the problem in the Strait of Hormuz. If we had one foreign policy, if we had one European army, then securing a strait like the Strait of Hormuz might actually be doable. Or you might even have enough power to stop conflicts like this completely. Anyway, right now, the world does feel increasingly unstable. Wars, cyber attacks, data leaks, and governments blocking access to information are becoming so common. And when these things get tense globally, protecting your digital privacy becomes more important than ever. And that's why today's sponsor, NordVPN, link in the description on the screen, is so incredible. I've been using NordVPN for ages because it encrypts my connection wherever I am, whether I'm editing scripts on a train, answering emails from my cafe, or using the hotel Wi-Fi. I basically just turn it on and don't even think about it. And when I'm traveling, I can still access my paid services from back home. So everything works the way it's supposed to. But NordVPN actually does more than just the travel side of things. Your password is your first line of defense online, and most people reuse the same one everywhere. All that it takes is one random site with bad security, and attackers can suddenly try that password on all of your other accounts. And NordVPN's Dark Web Monitor alerts you if your details show up on hackers' sites. And the free NordPass Password Manager helps you generate and autofill strong, unique passwords. You can get an exclusive NordVPN deal by heading to nordvpn.com/EUMadeSimple or using my code EUMadeSimple. That gets you a huge discount on a 2-year plan, plus 4 extra months for free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, as always, to all of our presidents. Kristen and Peter Clement Daniel Dev, Eupedia Giuseppe HVD, J. Kiki Loxen Massier, Michael Rashid Chao Kian Yan, Stefan Unite Europe Ave Europa, and Martin. See you in the next video.